Hello, hello. Thank you, everyone. I know you guys are getting your drinks, but drinks in a show, so come around the corner and see. First of all, I don't know if you had anyone on stage that matched their branding. So Tiffany, you look absolutely amazing. Tiffany is the CEO and founder of Curastory, but there's so much more. She is a barrier-breaking woman through and through. She is the first woman of color data scientist at ESPN. Okay. But wait, there's more. She is also one of 10 black women in history to ever have raised over $7 million in rev. You are killing it.
Thank you. I'm so excited to have you here on the stage.
Thank you.
Content creator extraordinaire, MLB Network host, SEC Network, first woman to win a Rawlings Gold Glove. I mean, she's amazing too. So let's actually sit down.
I don't know, we're kind of having a ball. It was good. So when it comes to Curastory, I've been able to see the complete evolution from when it was just a pink screen to the lucrative business that it is today, where it comes to, you can go on to Curastory, you can record your own content, edit your own content, and then with a click of a button, post to all the platforms that you want to. Yeah. Talk to us, what is Curastory?
Yeah, you knew from humble beginnings.
From the ground up, out the mud.
Out the mud, exactly. So I think when I was at ESPN, my first day was the 500-person layoffs with like Rosillo and Cannell and just like the craziness that was happening in traditional media. And my 2 years there, I just was kind of observing how ESPN was responding to creator economy. I mean, it was the first time a traditional media company was competing with YouTubers and niche media publishers of like 2 to 3 people, and I mean, kind of fumbling the bag a little bit. And so, but a lot of people don't know that ESPN was an 8,000-person media company, and from brainstorming to programming, like there's thousands of people in the mix. And now that creator economy and content consumption is changing and audiences are expecting content from an individual like an ESPN, it's kind of impossible. And something needed to exist to enable content creators to be able to do it. And so that's literally what I built. So creators can upload videos, there's free editing, free monetization, music licensing, distribution, like the whole nine. And they get ads from advertisers to speak in their own voice, post in their videos, just like that, and post to social media. And they're earning revenue, royalties, just like a YouTube AdSense would. So
when I think about the need of Curastory, I think because as an athlete, we are so focused on our job of being an athlete. Yeah. And then on top of that, the mental capacity that it takes in order to perform well, and then the physical capacity goes out there to go out and then perform. The job of then trying to be a content creator can sometimes get hard when you have to download all these different apps, you have to then upload, you have to figure out what you can use to edit. Yeah. But Curastory really solves those problems and puts it in one place. Yeah. That's from an athlete perspective. From the creator perspective, why was Curastory so necessary, and what have you seen the benefits of for athletes?
Yeah, I mean, I think to that point, and I know you create your own content too, but I think it's, you're creating content, you're brainstorming the content, you're piecing it together, and then you're getting on the computer and you're pitching brands to monetize the content. I mean, it's a full-time job outside of, what you're doing on the court. And I don't know if you can even tell people pre-Curastory, because you have a super cool, like some videos on social where you're like diving in the ocean, and I think you worked with some content creators doing that. So I don't know if you want to go through the process of creating that content and like how long it took and all the things that you had to do to get it out live. No, I'm throwing the question back at you.
Absolutely. So, it comes down to you have to think about what it is that you want to create. Then you go out and have to find someone to help me create it. And then after that, edit it down to what I want it to look like. Then also make it to where it's interesting enough in the first few seconds that people want to come and see it. And then make it interesting enough, long enough to where you want to stay and continue to watch it. But then you have to think about, okay, how should I distribute this onto each different platform because each one performs differently.
Algorithms are different.
And so it's, there's a lot of thought process that goes into it. And
Yeah.
when you are also trying to, as I said earlier, perform on the field, that can be something that's very secondary.
Yeah.
But Curastory has made it that much easier.
Yeah, and and I wanted you to say that because that's exactly what we do. We have 40,000 creators, pro athletes, student athletes, non-athlete creators like snowboarders, skiers like that. And some huge creators too, like Tyreek Hill, Ryan Garcia. These are huge guys and women that play, and their full-time job is to focus on their sport, but they're also really good at media and content creators, and so they have an amazing team, and their team is just using this platform, and we've saved them just thousands of hours of other grunt work that it typically would take, like pre-platform. So, yeah.
And also, I think what's a cool thing to point out is when you are a woman in sport and you don't make the big bucks that a lot of these men make to hire someone to do all these things.
Yeah.
Curastory is a perfect place to go to really, you have like an assistant all in an app without having to go spend a lot of money to do so.
Yeah, very true.
But when we think about authenticity, right, we all want what's real. That's what's different. That's what we gravitate to. What makes Curastory different from any other competitor?
I think the biggest would be, so we're the first platform to treat creator marketing like a programmatic media buy. Not to throw all these marketing words at you right now, but
say, break it down.
what is programmatic? What is media? What is buy? So typically, just manual influencer marketing, right? Like what I was mentioning with creators getting on their email and like having to pitch brands. That takes weeks to negotiate with a brand, how much money you want the content to cost. Like you're negotiating with a brand, what's the instructions, details, and everything that kind of is going into it. And so brands are able to do that in 5 minutes on the platform, and brands and creators never talk on the platform. So it's fully automated, fully programmatic. And programmatic is like a YouTube, right? So if a brand goes onto Google, they like put in all their targeting, kind of put all their information, and then Google does what Google does, which is why they make billions per month. And so we have the same exact flow. And it's the first time in history that has existed. So we just make it easy on both sides. And creators don't like talking to brands that much
say
either.
That one more time. It's the first time in history that what?
You're like, let me take the notes. So it's the first time in history creator marketing has been treated like a programmatic media buy.
Period.
Oh man, love it. But yeah.
And when you think about Curastory, what was the first thing that made you say, this is what I'm going to dive into, this is what I'm going to do and create for those athletes and those creators that want the opportunity to have this?
Yeah, I think before I built it, when the first NIL story broke back in spring 2019, I just kind of saw this vision of student athletes like not even talking to the press and kind of saying, hey, you can kind of hear my commentary on my TikTok or my reels like post game, which don't know if you guys saw, but we just announced this $36 million deal with the Pac-12, which starts next month, and that is literally happening. So there's a few
amazing.
Thank you.
36 mil, y'all, with an M. Million.
Period. No. But there are going to be a few guys during the football season that are not going to talk to the press. I'm sorry, press. We'll invite you to some things, and post-game, they'll say, hey, go on my TikTok, on my reels. You'll hear my commentary or see my video footage like in my TikTok and in my clips. And so we're really excited for that. And I was super humbled that the Pac-12 and Tempest X just kind of gave us the opportunity, and they picked us out of all of the platforms because a lot of the athletes actually said, like, we use this platform the most. So that was really exciting. And yeah, no, I think that's, a really big thing, and I saw that back in 2019, and I knew that that's where this industry was going to go, and I knew that creator economy was just going to get further and further away from traditional media, and content being backed by these huge media conglomerates, and I mean, something like this, and individual people being able to have millions of audiences, but needing the tools and resources to be able to do it.
You talked about how some of the athletes pinpointed you because they were already using Curastory, which is already hard to get an athlete's trust. So for them to say that this is what we want to use to move forward is huge. And with the $36 million, I'm an SEC girl. Go Tigers.
Go Tigers!
I do feel like the Pac-12, a lot of talent is going to be moving to the Pac-12 due to, I mean, people are making decisions on where they want to go to college based on their NIL deals. And with Curastory, how did you create this partnership with the Pac-12, and why the Pac-12?
I can't say that. Well, I feel so. The what? Yes, go Ducks too. So the Pac-12 did a previous NIL deal last year with Twitter. Twitter's going through some stuff right now, but they did it last year with Twitter, and so I think they've just been super cutting edge with just NIL and enabling student athletes to monetize. And so that was one of the main reasons why we kind of did the deal with Tempest X. And yeah, they reached out to us to, I mean, put things in place. And I was like, oh, of course, let's chat. But obviously, everyone's watching this. I mean, this is a historic deal. It's never been done before. And so pressure's on. We're excited. And I mean, all goes well. Leagues, conferences, and kind of being able to come to the table. And so... but yeah, no, we're really excited for it, and that starts next month with spring football.
When it comes to NIL, I think a lot of conferences, schools don't really know how maybe to handle that or support their athletes when it comes to creating that content, and that's when you step in. So what does it look like in regards to empowering those athletes, creating that content? How do you get them onto that platform and keep them on the platform?
Yeah, so, I mean, we have all of their contact information, like all the athletes in the Pac-12. There's like 8,000 of them. There's a lot of them. And we have a lot of resources and support articles and customer success teams kind of taking the time and getting them on the platform. But the schools, the schools have a lot of resources as far as like the platforms that can assist them, and they send that to them, and then it's really up to the athletes to kind of do what they want. And I think it's up to the platforms to just really break things down for them and kind of assist them. And I think just removing the barrier to entry just in the product that we have kind of makes it super easy for them to kind of get on the platform. But I'm really excited for NIL. We launched a report back in, I think it was the fall last year. We analyzed 75,000 student athletes. Took
166 schools, right?
Yeah, 166 schools. And there were only 700 of them that were like leaning into content creation, like we're creating videos, like food, like fishing videos, like just kind of day in the life, like outside of them doing sports. And they're so good. I mean, Gen Z is just way different. And so we were really excited to put that out. And what's crazier is I think only 25% of student athletes on that list have ever had a brand deal before. Like 75% of them have never had one. Like, I mean, brands wake up, but no, I'm really excited for just NIL and kind of what's to come.
I think we've all heard the phrase content is king, but in reality it's queen, because 84% of content creators are women. But when you think about, that's just a little whoop whoop. There it is. But when we talk about there's so many women that are creating the content, it can feel saturated, it can feel intimidating. So how does someone go in to create the content and to stand out? And why get into it when it feels like everyone's already doing everything?
Yeah, there's a few things that we kind of look at and actually helped us model the report out, but super hot take, like in the 700 student athletes, like the names that are really obvious were not in our report, and we did that on purpose. Not to shade, but like they weren't really creating videos. And so it's being comfortable in front of a camera, like talking to the camera, telling a story and not just doing trends is something that we look at, and that is just, I mean, like people are really paying attention to on social media. And if you have something to actually say, and kind of removing the veil a little bit and day in the life to a certain extent. People like watching that type of content. And so those are some of the things that we look at. So that's what we've seen audiences really paying attention to, and something that we're coming out with actually in the next month. When creators upload videos to our platform, we'll show them which platform it's going to perform better on. So like this video is slightly going to do better on shorts versus reels. It's a beast of an algorithm to build, but just kind of demystifying the algorithms for them, which is, I mean, they ask us all the time what features they want, and that was one of the things that they said that they needed. But yeah, those are some of the things that we look at before kind of bringing creators on the platform, and what we've seen creators that just do really well on social media.
That's another amazing incentive. That saves a lot of time, right? You're always posting to see how well this will do, and you kind of see how it will build up, but you're actually giving that information. And you talk about marketers. I read 83% talk about how important video is. It's more important than ever. What makes content creation so powerful?
I think just the diversification in voices, right? Like traditional media conglomerates, for so long, it was owned by like 3 or 4 powerhouse companies. And not everyone really got the chance to be an anchor, be an analyst. And so now people can be independent, and they can just kind of post content on social for free, get thousands of views, and then really start to have to operate and think like a media company and make so much money from it too. I mean, no one has to tell you that a lot of athletes make more in their career in media post-career than what they made in their career, and that's just eyeballs and traffic and audiences, and that's just kind of what media is. So I think, yeah, the diversification of voices and just the many different stories that you get to hear with creator economy, and kind of removing some of the power from media conglomerates and putting them in the hands of individual people and niche media publishers. A lot of power comes from that too, right? So I think it's amazing, but also people needing to kind of use their voice in the right way too at the end of the day.
And especially being a woman in sport and knowing that coming from college, the opportunity to get paid a lot of money once you go pro, if you even can go pro, is not as prevalent as it is for men. And so Curastory being able to allow especially women in sport to monetize off of their likeness, their content, their storytelling, because there's so many stories to be told, and women deserve it just as much as men do.
Yes,
and
they
so
do.
I love that Curastory is able to provide that.
Yeah, I think 85% of people in the NIL report were women. And I mean, I wasn't really surprised by that. Honestly, they're crushing it. And so, yeah, we're really excited for them as well.
When you think about that report you did with, you interviewed or you looked at research of 75,000 athletes and the 166 schools, where did you find that the brands were maybe failing those content creators?
Yeah, I think of the 25% that did have brand deals, I mean, not a lot of them were people of color. And one of the things, I didn't set out to build this with Curastory. I think this just comes with the programmatic nature of it. But manual influencer marketing, like any of the platforms, you just are browsing content creators. Like it's like you're just scrolling and just looking at people and just like checking what you want. And I mean, unconscious human bias comes into that. And Facebook and Google are not going to ask you like where you want to put your ad and like show you everything on the internet. And so with us, we do the same thing. Like we don't show advertisers like who the creators are. We make sure that everything matches and aligns with the creator's audience and the brand's audience, as well as the content too. And they just trust our algorithm. And so they're getting way more diverse creators talking about their product. And like Susie from Indiana, randomly, that they wouldn't have thought of. That's kind of really performing for them versus kind of picking and just having this unconscious bias. And so creators use us for that reason too. Like if they're a person of color, they don't have a lot of reviews or on these other platforms. And so kind of coming to us and getting monetized really quickly. So we're kind of breaking down the I think the racism and the bias in influencer marketing, just with the way that our platform is, which, really, really excited about that.
The history just continues to keep, you just breaking history left and right.
So
when it
are
comes
you,
to
girl.
Curastory.
So are you.
But when you think about if one to break history, not just to follow in your footsteps as a content creator, posting those stories, what they're talking about, because you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
And so to talk about that, when you think about what a creator should be putting out, what's the number one thing you would say a content creator should think about when posting content, especially on Curastory?
Yeah, so it was funny. I was having a conversation with the head of content at YouTube a couple months ago, and she made the snark and funny remark that YouTube and Google are never going to fail. And so I was like, okay, let's follow that storyline. What's your biggest weakness? Like, what's your biggest friction point right now? And she was like, oh, we only care about YouTube. Like, we don't care about any other platform. I was like, okay, cool. Like, let's follow that. I was like, the number one thing that a media company has to do, the number one thing that a content creator has to do is be omni-channel. Like, that is the only thing that matters. You have to post everywhere, right? If you don't post everywhere, you die. You can't grow your audience. And I mean, that is currency for media companies. And so when I said that, I was like, your number one friction is creators' number one need. Like, and then she was quiet for a really long time. And so that is just one thing that I say to content creators all the time. And they understand it already. I mean, if they've been in the game for a really long time, like to your point, like you have all these different apps, like you need to be everywhere and post everywhere and have your content everywhere. That way you can get audiences. But yeah, that's the one thing that I would say for content creators. Post everywhere, be omni-channel to increase your audience.
Increasing your audience, but then also supporting your own community. What does that look like?
I think supporting your own community, which is your audience that's kind of watching your content. I mean, the most important thing that you can do is put out content that they want to watch. And so I know it's super tough with the algorithms. They kind of box you in.
You've created one that's going to allow us to see what performs best on which platform.
Yes.
So we're already solving that.
Problem's already getting solved, yes. But putting out content and seeing what your audience is actually responding to, and then just following that. I think and you can easily see that for free with the platforms, just the insights that they provide you, but there are, of course, other tools that you can additionally get or pay for to be able to see that. But just posting what your audience actually wants to see and like doing the research, which goes into just how much it takes to be a content creator and alleviating everything on the back end that takes so much time is just what I get excited to do every day in our team.
Curating your own story with Curastory.
You got that? You got that? I literally came up with that at 2 a.m. with one of my friends from Overtime. Like, we were just in our text thread just thinking, back in 2019, just, like, thinking of names, like, and we both knew, like, whenever.
That was it.
Yeah. It was my Overtime friend that put that, and I was like, that's it. That's it. Let me, incorporating it right now at 2 a.m.
I think that what you've created has been something that is going to benefit so many athletes, so many content creators. And when you talk about, one last question for you, talking about the involvement of content creation today, what does that look like in the future, especially using Curastory?
Yeah, I mean, world domination for us. I mean, we want to touch every video on the internet in some way and be able to empower creators. But I think we'll just see more niche media publishers and individuals have more eyeballs continuously than traditional media companies. Like, I just think that's going to continue to grow, and just the fragmentation of media and just the many products that need to come out to enable them, and kind of the gig economy and creator economy that is today. But yeah, we'll see more increase on that, and I'm so excited. So thank you for having me on the stage and you being here.
It's been amazing, and your outfit. I can't get over it.
Yours
Thank you all
too.
for coming to watch everything a bet is Curastory with
Thank you.
the berry breaking and history making Tiffany Kelly.
Oh, you're great.